And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. And today I have count them, two stories for you today. Both are Ex-Jehovas. I'd like to introduce you to Excultbaby and Telltale Atheist. Or actually, you're just going by Telltale now, aren't you?
Yeah, I go by Telltale. You can call me Telltale or Owen, whichever. Doesn't matter to me.
All right, cool. I thought I saw a little furball in the background wandering around. Too,
oh yeah,
cat.
He's wandering around.
Mine's asleep on the couch like usual, but yeah, that's all he ever does.
Mine is in the other room. Mine is in the other room with my fiance, and they're probably both just chilling on the chair, big old armchair.
You got it. Sweet. All right, so basically, guys, what I do here is I like to hear people's deconversion stories. Am I already breaking up? Did you catch that?
Yeah.
I can hear you. It's the videos.
So yeah, that's what
Yeah, the video's lagging a bit.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it was something we just got to sort of muscle through. So anyway, so let's start with you, Excultbaby, and let's talk about your deconversion story. And I might jump in with, little interjections or questions and whatnot. So I'll let you take it away first. And Owen, feel free to jump in too anytime you want as well.
Sure.
Okay. So my storytelling technique involves a lot of hopping around. This is probably not going to be a very linear story. I'm going to try to make it linear, but I may go like, oh yeah, and I need to go back to this other thing that's important to the story. So just to warn you. So I will start kind of with how I ended up getting kicked out of the Jehovah's Witness organization, because that is my religious background. And my deconversion came a little later, but I won't put as much detail into the getting kicked out part, because that's the part that I've probably gone into the most detail about. Every time I've told this story. The deconversion is actually a little bit, different. So basically, I'm a teenager in high school. I discover that I like girls, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of an issue. I mean, at the time I identified as bisexual. Now I identify as pansexual. I don't know if you can see that pan flag in the background, my little pride flag. But
yes, we can.
Okay.
I kind of like the new pumpkin flag, by the way. Have you guys seen that?
That was hilarious. Yeah, I saw that. That was great. Oh, man. People are going to look back at this video years from now and be like, pumpkins, what are they talking about? Because they're not here with the controversy right now. But anyways, so... Shit, where did I leave off? God damn it, I should have taken my meds today. Oh, yeah.
See, Frustrated Atheist is already in the chat with the fun fact thing, saying that you actually got kicked out of the JW Club for being a badass rather than...
It wasn't badass. It was not. To make a long story short about the process of me actually moving out and getting disfellowshipped, basically, I was in a relationship that I wasn't supposed to be in. I committed a serious sin by not being married and having sex, which I feel like is fairly common for young people, not too much of a shocker there. But one day I was just really fed up with my dad's, because my father is an elder in the congregation, so he's supposed to be like a spiritual leader in our congregation, and it was very overbearing for me. So one day I was just like, you know what, I've had enough of this, and I've been thinking about moving out for a long time, because I know that I'm never going to make the relationship that I'm in work if I'm still living at home and keeping it all a secret and not being able to actually go out and see them. So I just kind of started packing this Saturday or Sunday or whatever it was. And my family went out to the meeting that they were going to, and when they got back, they brought a bunch of people with them who were all trying to convince me not to leave. It was very emotional. There was a lot of crying. There was a lot of, the world is dangerous, and, I don't want to see you get hurt, blah, blah, blah. but I had already made up my mind that I was going to go. And so I moved in with one of my friends, one of my old friends from high school, because at this point I'm 18. And I've already graduated and stuff. And I lived with her and her uncle for a few months, and it was great. It was the time of my life. They smoked a lot of weed, and to this day, the smell of weed makes me think of freedom, because that was when I first got out of my family home and could start being myself. So whenever I smell weed, I'm like, that's the freedom smell.
Smell of freedom.
Yep. That's really what I associated with. Other people were like, ugh, what is that smell? It's gross. And I'm just like, that's the smell of freedom, baby.
Yeah. And it's legal here now where I am, so I can walk around the street smoking it.
Good for you.
And I do.
So, like I said, I lived with my friend for a few months. The relationship that I was in that kind of prompted me to move out, I ended up breaking up with that relationship. So, didn't stay for very long, but I'm still thankful that I was in that relationship, because otherwise I might never have left, or it would have taken me a lot longer to leave. But a few weeks after that, I meet Nathan, who is my fiance now. And he is an atheist. At the time that we started dating, he is an atheist.
He was already one when you started.
Yes.
Okay.
And to be completely honest, we met online, and when we met, we started talking about this kind of stuff. He was kind of like, "Oh, you're a deeply religious person." Okay, well, I don't have an issue with that if you don't. And I was like, "Listen, I don't know if I could deal with another religious person. I'm so glad you're an atheist, because I'm already struggling with all of this religious shit. I don't need somebody else to tell me oh, just pray about it. I don't want to hear any of that shit right now. Even though I still believe what I believe, I feel terrible. I feel all guilty all the time. I feel, I'm going to die in Armageddon, even though I'm just out here living my life and being happy. So I don't want to hear any religious shit. I'm very happy to be in a relationship with an atheist, because he's not going to try to tell me that God loves me, because I don't want to hear it.
Now, well, hang on. Did you try to tell him that God loves him?
No.
Okay.
I already felt bad enough in the
then.
religion that I was in. So I did, in the religion that I believed in. So I wasn't going to try to convince him, but we did have discussions about my beliefs. Okay. And in the context of those discussions, it was usually him asking me questions and kind of explaining his own views on things. And it gave me a perspective that I'd never really had before. I'd had atheist friends in high school. I'd never had a problem with atheists. In fact, a lot of my friends were atheists. They were some of the coolest people that I knew. And I never had this, idea that atheists are all evil or they don't have morals. I mean, it crossed my mind the question, how can an atheist have morals? But I also knew atheists and were like, well, clearly you do have morals because you're not a jerk. So obviously you do. It would be a pointless question to ask, how do you have morals? Because you have them. Isn't that what matters? So
how did that sit with you? Because were you ever told by other religious people that atheists just couldn't possibly have decent morals?
It was sort of implied, never explicitly stated. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever had that experience, Telltale, but I never really had the experience that Jehovah's Witnesses that I knew were ever particularly calling out atheists as being evil in general. Right. I got the experience that they were not, I don't know, that they were dumb basically for not believing that a God exists.
Right. I think evil. The doctrine, I believe, says that everybody has morals built into them by God from the start. So atheists do have morals, but it's because Jehovah put them there pretty much. But they basically hate everybody kind of equally. That's kind of it doesn't really do justice to their real position exactly, but that's how it is. They don't like Gay people, living their lives. They don't like how atheists live and all that other stuff. So go on.
Yeah, they basically are just like, if you're a worldly person, you suck. All equally, but you all suck,
Right.
though.
Well, at least there's equally going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are some Jehovah's Witnesses who are more prejudiced than others in certain aspects, but that's what the actual doctrine says. It's, for person to person that might be different, but according to the actual doctrine. Yeah. So, right. So I'm dating an atheist now, and I'm kind of slowly kind of coming into myself, but I can't 100% shake the feeling that I'm going to die and that I deserve it, and the feelings of guilt because I've broken up my family, and oh no one will talk to me, and it's my fault. And like I said, in the meantime, we're having some discussions about religion and about my former beliefs and about my current beliefs and kind of how those beliefs change. Like, for example, my fiance's brother is a paranormal investigator.
Oh, geez, really?
Yeah, really. He takes it pretty seriously.
I was going to be one once too. I started. I bought a camera with that in mind, and we just did a couple of things, and it never really went anywhere.
Oh man, that would have been so funny. I can totally see you as somebody who would be into that shit, though.
I was.
See it. So when I first learned about that, and Nathan told me, well, I've been on ghost hunts with him, and I've seen things that I can't explain, but I also wouldn't conclude that the answer was ghosts. You know, like there was nothing to lead me to conclude that exactly. There are also lots of other alternative explanations for a lot of the things that I saw, just because, that obviously weren't ghosts. But I was just like, I don't fuck with that shit. And he was just like, well, I don't even think it's real. And I was just like, no, it's demons. I don't do that. I don't mess with that. Jehovah's Witnesses are so superstitious when it comes
aliens are demons too, don't forget.
Oh man, when it comes to demon stuff, I remember one time in my high school, there were these girls doing the what was it? It was some kind of like ghost summoning demon thing. I don't remember what it was. It was just one of those little things, like a Ouija board or something, and they were messing around with it at the end of a class, and I was just sitting in my seat on the other side of the room with my Bible on my desk, like ready to exorcise people if it came to that. Like I literally was like, if this shit goes south, I'm the Jehovah's Witness in the room, so I guess I'll have to expel some demons. I'm ready. I got my little pocket-sized Bible.
I'm the one with the ghost banishing powers and demon banishing powers.
Yeah, basically. That's what I really legitimately thought. But thinking about all of that stuff now in a new context, like talking to Nathan about it, and I was like, oh, like everybody else who I've ever talked to about ghost related stuff is just like, yeah, that's demons. We don't fuck with that shit. But now I'm talking to somebody who is like, yeah, I've gone on paranormal investigations and nothing happened that made me think it was something supernatural. And I was just kind of like, okay, well, that's interesting. There's these little things that were kind of sprinkling into my head, but nothing that made me go, oh, I guess I was just wrong then. Nothing that made me completely change my mind, but things that made me go, huh, okay, all right. We had lots of discussions about, like, the problem of evil, things like that, about Jehovah's Witness doctrine. And it was getting more and more difficult for me to answer those questions.
Sure, right.
Because for one thing, I wasn't being, like, constantly inundated with Jehovah's Witness propaganda. I wasn't constantly reading the Bible and the publications that gave me all the answers that I needed. So all of a sudden, when I was a little bit slower to answer, and he could give his answers for things, it was like, that seems like it makes more sense. But I still believe this other thing. But I will admit that makes sense. And then one day, we were watching an episode of the Atheist Experience. I believe that we were in the car at the time.
Wait, hold on. You were watching the Atheist Experience while driving.
Listen.
Okay.
Nathan is the one between the two of us who drives. I didn't learn to drive before I left home, and I still haven't gotten around to it. So he will put on a YouTube video, but usually ones that are more podcast style, with just people talking, not a lot of visuals that are important to see. And he'll just have them playing. And a lot of the stuff that he likes are atheist videos. He tries to avoid watching them around me because he doesn't want to make me uncomfortable. But after a while, I kind of am like, no, you can play it in front of me. It's fine. I don't care. Oh. And there was this particular episode of the Atheist Experience, and it was from, I believe it was actually from just the previous season. And it was an episode that was hosted by Matt Dillahunty and Jamie Boone. And they had this caller on, this woman who couldn't understand why anybody, or how and why anybody could be an atheist. And the call ended up kind of going into talking about the people that she had lost and how even the concept of not being able to see those people again was traumatizing to her, and she could not accept that. And right. Matt made this point about how, well, that's a major way in which religion does a disservice to people. And that concept of like religion does a disservice to people kind of was like the light switch that went off in my head. It was like just a very basic religious concept of you'll see your loved ones again after they die. Makes it more difficult for people to grieve. They don't have the tools necessary to completely accept people's deaths because they can't accept that they're gone. And that was just a very much a light bulb moment for me. And in part because part of the thing that was keeping me in personally was that for a long time I didn't leave the Jehovah's Witnesses because my grandfather had died and I wanted to see him again. And it was like, I can't miss out on the chance to see him again for my own selfish worldly pleasures or whatever. So that was part of what kept me in for a long time. And then this kind of concept of like maybe holding on to the idea that I was going to see my grandfather again has been keeping me from moving on and living my life. Maybe religion has done me a disservice. And that was really like, I literally just like broke down in tears. And I just was, and Nathan was like, honey, what's wrong? And I was like, I think I'm an atheist now.
Thank you, Atheist Experience.
Yes. I love the Atheist Experience. But it was.
And I remember the episode you mentioned too.
Yeah. Well,
I've seen every one of them, by the way.
Every single one. Oh, okay.
I went into their back catalog when I discovered them back in like 2013 or something.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's awesome. So that is, strictly speaking, how I deconverted. Of course, there's, some after story to that. There is actually something kind of funny before that. At one point, my fiance's mother sat me down and was talking about how, and this is maybe a couple of months before I, completely deconverted, but this is so fucking funny. She basically sat me down and was telling me how she was so glad that I was in her son's life because maybe I could influence him to bring him back to God. And and even at the time, even before I had deconverted, in my head, I was like, he's a lot more likely to make me an atheist than I am to make him a Christian. Because I barely believe it anymore myself.
Yeah. Thanks for playing, though. We have a lovely home version of the game for you.
It's like, that's not happening. That's not happening. And I couldn't tell her that at the time, but that was like, she was reading me scriptures and stuff, and she was like holding my hand. It was like, so like, God put you in his life to bring him back to him. And I was just like, in my head, like, no,
That's
no.
not how it works.
Yeah.
So
no, go ahead.
When you realized that you were an atheist, did you talk to any of your family and friends that were still believers about this, or?
Well, I really couldn't. I hadn't been talking to them about anything up until that point because, I was being shunned.
Right.
But I even now, I still haven't told any of my family directly that I'm an atheist. I don't know if they still follow me on social media or not. They could very easily find out because I'm not even on like my Facebook that has my family and friends on it that still do, give a shit about me. I'm pretty public about it. I'm pretty open about it. I was posting all about going to Faithless Forum and stuff like that. I wear this atheist bracelet everywhere I go practically. So I don't know if they know, but at this point, having a conversation with them about almost anything is unrealistic, let alone saying, by the way, just wanted to let you know, I am an
godless
atheist.
heathen.
Yes, and there's no way I'm ever going to be a Jehovah's Witness again, by the way.
Wow, okay. So I was just wondering, like, you've already sort of been excommunicated as it was, so I just wondered if there was like, if you'd had told them and they like took it like a step further and just wrote you right off kind of thing.
I have very limited communication with them. Like, if, for example, if I call either of my parents, they will pick up the phone because I don't call them unless I need something from them that only they can get me. Like, for example, because Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate birthdays, I didn't remember what either of my parents' birthdays were, and I needed it for, like, filling out emergency contact information at my doctor's office. So I called my dad, and he answered the phone, and I said, hey, I'm at the doctor's office. What's you and Mom's birthdays? And he told me, and he was like, okay, bye. Like,
Short and sweet.
Yeah, the last communication I had with my mom was on Mother's Day. I texted her, I love you, and she texted back, thanks.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I was, like, blown away. I literally spent the rest of the day, like, thanks? Thanks? What the hell does that mean? Thanks?
Thanks is fine, as long as it's followed with an I love you too.
Yeah, it wasn't. So I was really like, what the hell? Fuck me, I guess. You might as well have not responded if you were just going to respond with thanks.
Yeah, that's kind of harsh. Wow.
Yeah, I was really shocked by that, actually. Like, there's only been a few things regarding my excommunication that really made me go, wow, it's like that, huh? Okay, well, probably the three things that stick out were that. Oh, no, there's four things that stick out. There was that incident on Mother's Day. The last time I saw my dad in person, I hugged him and he didn't hug me back. And that was hurtful. The day that my mom dropped off the rest of my stuff and then asked me for my house key back, that was another moment that made me go, okay, well, I guess it's like that. And then probably a month or two after I left home, like I said before, I was living with my friend and her uncle, but her uncle was on disability, so he wasn't really supposed to have people living with him. And so basically he said, hey, I'm having an inspection coming up soon, so unfortunately you're going to have to move out, like, ASAP.
Jeez.
So there was a little bit of time. This is like right after I met Nathan. So we weren't really close enough to be like, I'll just crash at his place. We ended up doing that anyway because he's just a really nice person. But there was about a week where I was homeless, going from, place to place, staying with friends and one of my disfellowshipped aunts, like whoever's house I could stay at overnight, I stayed at. And when I knew that was about to happen, I texted my mom and was like, hey, here's the situation. Would it be okay if I at least overnight went and stayed in my old room? Like literally I could come in as late as possible and leave as early as possible, but I just needed, a place to spend the night. And my mom didn't respond to the text. My dad was the one that called me back about it. And he said, you have to understand that basically, unless you are planning on coming back to the truth, that we can't let you stay in our house. And I was like, shit. Okay, well, I guess I'm just fucking homeless then.
That just blows my mind.
Yeah. And
therein lies, what I always talk about. That's the poison that is religion.
Yeah. What is it? Only religion can make good people do bad things.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I think of whenever I hear that. I think of my dad telling me that I'm gonna have to just be homeless because he can't let me stay in my old room overnight.
Unbelievable. Well, if you lived in my neighborhood, there's always a couch here, if you'd ever needed it. But unfortunately, that's in the past, and you look like you're doing a hell of a lot better nowadays.
I am, very, very fortunately. Like I said, I ended up moving in with my now fiance, and we've been living together ever since. We moved in together like a week after we started dating. Fortunately, we really hit it off, so it felt right, even though it was like, well, this is clearly rushed, but I don't think we have any other options. Because as he said, it's not like I'm going to pick you up for a date and then drop you off on a street corner and be like, all right, is this the street corner I can pick you up from tomorrow? Our next date,
People might get the wrong impression.
Yeah, exactly. So he wasn't about to let me be homeless. And I was just like, well, shit, you aren't a serial killer. It seems like you seem like a really decent, honest person. And we were really hitting it off. So it happened to work out, fortunately. I don't recommend moving in with someone a week after you've met, though. Just to make sure people know that is not my recommendation for relationships.
Yeah, because you could end up moving right out again a week later. So
yeah.
And that's happened to me. Mind you, I didn't get together or move in with that person for about a month. And then the next month I was out. That was it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Hey, I was even married for 3 months. So,
dang.
Yeah. 3 months. Then I found her doing coke and other dudes. So I was like, all right, chill. Cool. I'm out of here.
Bye.
Yeah, everything up to that point is acceptable, but when it comes to coke and other dudes, I guess that's where the line is, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, the line actually, I mean, yeah, well, sure, yeah. That's a big one. And then teaching her kids to lie.
You snort.
Yeah, well, then she teaches her kids to lie to me about it.
So, that's not good.
What? Like, how old are these kids?
One was 5 and the other was 7.
That's messed up.
It is. Yeah. But you're out of that situation now.
Oh, yeah, dude, that was like in 2003, so I'm long out of that situation.
Good. I'm glad there's something you could look back at and be like, what the hell was that? Oh, well. Right. Hindsight is good.
Yeah. Yes, no sacred cows. Someone was that silly. Yeah. But see, I didn't see the signs. And, you can tell people that do coke, they always do that job thing, where I didn't know that then. So I didn't know the signs. So now I know.
Younger, more naive, Neil.
Yeah, I know. No more naive Neil. Yeah. and knowing is half the battle, like they say there in G.I. Joe. So. Not Coke Zero, Duke. Actual cocaine. Anyway, so how long would you say are you eating?
I got some ice cream before. I just had a picnic in the park with my fiance. When I got back, I was like, I'd like some ice cream. And then I was like, oh shit, we're starting. So
that's okay. Ice cream's acceptable.
Ice cream right here.
So how long now would you say you've been an atheist?
Oh, damn. I know that I deconverted sometime, not this past spring, but the spring before that. And I know it was in the spring because that summer we went to the Jehovah's Witness convention, me and my fiance, and it was like looking at it through brand new eyes. And it was like, holy shit, this is really fucked up, some of this stuff. I can't believe that I totally sat through this and was like, this is great. This is great. That was the best convention ever. That's why I said it every fucking convention. But yeah, it was. So it's been over a year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So that's still, relatively fresh too. But so what was your if you had to give a review for the Faithless Forum that we were all at, all three of us, what would your review be? 9 out of 10. No coffee.
Oh my God, I was literally going to say the exact same thing.
I know. That's why I said it, because I was anticipating what you were going to say.
Yeah.
I was smart and got coffee on the way there and all that. So yeah, they could have had caffeine. I know, right? At work, they just make a pot for me, and then they make a pot for everybody else. So I fill up my giant thermos cup. It keeps it hot for like 4 hours.
I will say about Faithless Forum, it was really long, but Jehovah's Witness conventions feel a lot longer, even though they are not actually that long. Like, as far as because we literally got there in the morning and we were out until midnight or some shit.
Yeah.
But including the after party, we were out that late. But it
was a lot of fun.
As far as how long it felt, it was fine.
Next time we're planning on doing a couple of days and making it shorter. Yeah.
And I'm in again. I think I'm not sure if they're going to have me as a speaker next year or not. I don't know if I'll be at that caliber yet, but I'll definitely be there as a volunteer and help with the setup and shit like that. Because,
that'll be cool. Aren't you from Canada?
Yeah, I am from Canada. Yeah,
that's a long way to travel, I guess you could say, to Dallas. How long of a trip was it?
4-hour flight.
Oh, that's not so bad, I guess. You got to get a passport, though.
Okay.
Oh, I got one.
I'm from Ohio, and
right here.
Drove. Okay.
You drove from Ohio?
Yeah.
Holy crap!
I don't want to hear it, Neil. 4-hour flight.
How long was the drive? Was it?
I'd say easy 15 hours.
God, it was 16 hours, something like that. So we had to stop overnight. And then on the way back, we stopped even more. We stopped twice overnight because we ended up leaving a lot later because we left from the it was actually a longer drive back because we were leaving from Austin, Texas, because we went to the Atheist Community of Austin Free Thought Library to see a live taping of the Atheist Experience before we went back to Ohio, because it's hell, we already came out here. What's another 3-hour drive,
Yeah, sitting in on the shows that I have enjoyed for years was amazing. It was such a great experience.
Oh,
and then seeing everyone that I got to hang out with and meet and hang out with, actually popping in on the show and stuff like that, that was really cool.
Oh yeah, that was awesome, and it was a good show. It was a good episode.
I think it was their highest viewed one.
Yeah,
and the Atheist Experience.
I was there. It was great.
Yeah, I remember seeing you there. And one of the best things about being down there was hanging out with Aaron Ra, and the guy would not let me have an empty hand. He always had to put a beer in my hand, which was okay, I'm cool with this.
He's an awesome dude. I really like Aaron Ra.
Yeah, he is really cool. All right, is there anything else you wanted to bring up, Excultbaby, or can we let Well, I don't want to spill his.
Pass it along.
Okay.
Go for
And
it.
the baton goes to Owen. Or
Okay.
Telltale, as we know.
I will. Yeah. All right. I'll tell you my story. A lot of people have probably heard it, but when
Not on this channel.
That's true. Not on this channel. When I was, all right, let me think about it for a minute. I was like really socially isolated, as a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are when they're teenagers. And as a result, I mean, there weren't really any Jehovah's Witnesses my age, not many. And the ones that were around didn't really like hanging out with me anyways. So I just didn't really have any friends when I was younger. Didn't really hang out with anybody outside of my house at all. And so eventually time passes. I ended up, because I was homeschooling for a few years. When I turned 16, I ended up going back to public school. I went to high school, started to make some friends here and there, worldly friends, of course. And at that point, I kind of felt like I was an adult at that point, because I had been through an awful lot already and experienced the world for what it is, and I was not under my parents' thumb anymore, really. So I was only going to the meetings still because I wanted to go to the meetings still, really, by 16, 17 years old. So 17 years old, I become, excuse me, 17 years old, I start making friends with people, and I decide to start I get a girlfriend, and I'm hanging out with her, and she drinks a little bit. And so I drink a little bit. So that was my introduction to alcohol. And yeah.
How'd that go, by the way, before you carry on?
I vomited everywhere. I'll say that. And so
me too, my first time.
Yeah, and the second and the third time, and ever since I just don't drink.
I have only thrown up
drinking equals vomiting. I'm not down with that.
That's right. Now, since then, actually, in all seriousness, I have drank and not thrown up. It's just, I'm just not a fan. I just don't really like the feeling of it. Like, I feel dizzy and stuff, so I don't know.
That's the point.
You're right. So anyway, I start hanging out with this girl, and eventually, as time goes on, I end up getting disfellowshipped because I was breaking some rules. I was drinking alcohol. I had smoked a cigarette, and I was trying to experience the life that I wasn't allowed to experience as a Jehovah's Witness after being isolated from society for so many years. And so I end up, I was just kind of living my life, and the elders start like calling me in. It turns out that some Jehovah's Witnesses that went to school with me had been following me around at school and watching what I do and reporting back. And
wow.
Yes. And so the elders knew what I was doing already, and, you know, saw me holding hands with my girlfriend and kissing her and stuff. So they ended up disfellowshipping me for the cigarette and for the alcohol and stuff. And at that point, I really wanted to be a part of it still. I said to them in the judicial meeting, I said, if this is like a fork in the road for me, if you disfellowship me, I may not come back. This is probably not the smartest thing to say if I wanted to stay in, because they want to see true repentance and all that other good junk. Well, they ended up disfellowshipping me, of course. So at that point, I really had nowhere to go. My mom kicked me out on my 18th birthday, and I had nowhere to go. So I end up going to the house of this girl I knew from high school. I called her and asked her if I could stay at her house. And I did not have her grandparents' approval, who she lived with. So I climbed in her window at her house and lived in her bedroom for 3 weeks without like anybody knowing or anything. Because I had nowhere else to go. Of course, they know me now, and they're like my family now. And I told them this recently, and they're like, "Oh, you." But anyway.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
What did they didn't? That was all just you little.
Oh, they were a little bit miffed, but this is like 12 years ago, and we've been through so much at this point. Yeah, we've been through so much at this point. You know, they take care of me, and I take care of them, and everything. So, Anyway, that's what I ended up doing. Lived in her bedroom for like 3 weeks, and I worked at Burger King at the time, and I finally, one of the coworkers I had. I know, yeah, right. I don't. Oh my God, I hate that place now. So anyway, one of my coworkers had a trailer, and he rented me a room for like $150 a month or something like that.
Sweet.
Yeah, which was actually a pretty good bit of money at the time. This is when I was making $5.40 an hour. But yeah. So anyway, I ended up staying with him, and that girl ended up moving in with me with him. We lived together there in that trailer, and
so now it was only $75 each.
Yeah. Well, she worked at Burger King too, so we combined incomes and we worked together and we survived. But that meant I had to drop out of high school. I was in 11th grade, and yeah, so I dropped out of high school in 11th grade, and so did she. And we ended up making it, though. I mean, we ended up surviving, barely, but we were surviving. And over time, I had limited contact with my parents. It'd be times when I talked to them a lot, times when I didn't talk to them at all. But I ended up getting into a worse world. I was smoking weed and things like that. And, you know, yeah, but then it went further than that. I got into like substance abuse. And eventually after a couple of years, I ended up getting clean. And my daughter's great grandparents, or my wife at the time, that's who I ended up marrying the girl. My wife's grandparents is who it was. They saw me through all of that, and they bought me new clothes and just took care of me like their own kid. Like, I could not have asked for a better family, you know, to take me in. Yeah, and like I said, I still talk to them to this day. I mean, they've seen me through the worst of my life and the best of my life. So really happy that they're around. But at this point, I don't talk to my mom at all, unfortunately. She refuses to answer the phone no matter what. And
oh, dude, I'm sorry.
It is what it is. I'm okay, really. It's disappointing to know that she doesn't want a relationship, but it's been like 10, 12 years now. So it's almost like there isn't much of a loss anymore. But
that couldn't have been easy for you right off the hop.
No, it wasn't. And it still gets to me sometimes. And when it does, I make a video about it. But but anyway, and maybe it helps other people to hear that, because they can relate to my feelings on it. But the plus side is that my entire family except for my mom is out. I had 3 siblings, a dad, an aunt, and 2 cousins that were on the inside of the religion, and they are all on the outside now, every one of them. So I talk to them now. That's pretty cool.
That's great.
Yeah. And I think they all know about my YouTube channel and watch it. At least some of them watch it. So I don't know. It's almost kind of bizarre to, like, I was the first one out, kind of, or I was the second one of the family out. My older brother left first, but and now they're like, they all shunned me, and none of them talked to me, and now I'm like, they're so proud of me for being this apostate. It's so weird. It's cool though, I'm glad that I have family like that now. So
that's really cool, actually. How long did it take them to follow suit?
Well, when I was 10, my first brother, my oldest brother, left the religion, and then I left when I was 18, and then my other brother left when I was, let's see here, I think I was probably 22 or 23, so about 5 years after me. And then my sister left about that same time, and my sister's husband at the time, he's actually the one that got me. He's the one that woke me up. He's the one that got me to realize that it was BS. So I had already been out for 5 years, but I still believed it until one day he was telling me about how the first president or the early president of the Watchtower Society had a mansion built for Abraham and Isaac and a bunch of older like Bible characters, and he's just keeping it warm for them by living in it for them. I mean, he had it deep to them. During the Great Depression, he had these Cadillacs, and it was just obvious abuse of power and money. And, that's what it took for me to be like, okay, so I've been told my whole life that every religion is crooked, and that was the tipping point. This one is too. And that's all it took for me to just say, this is all BS. I don't believe any of it. So that mention was called Beth Sareem. What is it?
I feel like I've noticed that a lot of fundamentalists and people that are in kind of like more culty situations where they're told so much, that like, oh, every other religion is terrible and we can give you all these reasons why. As soon as you realize that the religion you're in too is also crooked, you just dump religion. I feel I've noticed that a lot. I mean, obviously that's not true for everybody, but I noticed that is a fairly common experience.
Yeah, for sure. Here's another interesting experience. You're right. That does happen a lot. I think that sometimes when it goes the opposite direction and people embrace a different religion, the reason is because they already have this extremist mindset kind of built into them, and they don't have an outlet for it. So they look for a new outlet, which is another religion. Like you'll find Jehovah's Witnesses will jump to like Mormonism sometimes. And that's like such an insane, crazy situation because Mormonism is so demonized in Jehovah's Witnesses, but they don't have an outlet for that extremist mindset. So every now and then you find that.
They must just be like, well, this one's just as extreme as ours. Let's go to that one.
Right. Exactly.
And I was so feeling so hurt and down by the religion that I had left. But I had also been so indoctrinated that it was kind of like, I'm either going to believe this or I'm not going to believe anything.
Exactly.
And obviously, that isn't the reason that I became an atheist, but I did leave Jehovah's Witnesses with that mindset that, like, I'm either going to go back to this someday or I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I was completely convinced that it was the truth. I used to say, if anybody has it right, then it's the Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, and I thought I was being so smart when I would say this. Like, it's so wise, I've looked at all these other religions, and I just think that Jehovah's Witnesses are the closest. So, but come to realize, like, all of it's complete BS. Like, it just kills me. It bothers me a lot to think about the mindset that I used to have at one point.
Mm-hmm. I just did. I was on Gray Skeptic's channel yesterday, and he
saw that.
Yeah, atheist flashbacks, and so basically he like interviews atheists but they have to respond to the interview as if they are the religious person that they used to be, and it was hard because it was like, trying to get back into that brainwashed mindset. Like, you literally have to be so brainwashed to think that way that trying to make yourself think that way now is like really difficult.
It is.
Yeah. I haven't done the atheist apostate thing on his channel. They had me on the Leah channel, talking about all the stuff that I do charity wise and the blood donations and all that stuff, because it's all about humanism and whatnot. Right. So, but I'm sure he'll probably have me on there at some point to do that. And Owen, I'm just looking for where you popped into the chat so I can actually give you moderator position.
Oh, okay. I can actually say something now if you want and go to the bottom.
Oh, all right. I'll do that. Test. You forgot to follow that up with Ickle. Test Ickle. There you did the Ickle.
Anyway.
And you're moderated.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
And I don't think I've given you moderator privileges yet, Excultbaby.
Aw.
Yay! Are those tears of joy?
And those are sad because frustrated atheist said that I failed the test.
Oh, fuck you, Russ. Just go sit in your Bronco and do your job. All right. Whatever the hell it is.
But anyways,
all right, so
yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to sort of talk about there at all?
Oh, not too much. I figure that I don't know. I figure that like after getting out of the religion, I was really, really angry. A lot of people go through like an angry phase, you know. And it took me a really long time to get past that angry phase. And at this point, I feel like I do a lot of street epistemology now where
That's cool.
I actually do a little bit of a modified version of it, but it's like trying to get people to see that their beliefs are not reasonable or rational. And I feel like that approach to conversation is really preferred to any other. You know, I mean, that approach toward dialogue with an opposing side is preferred toward any other most of the time, because you don't. Sometimes being firebrand and angry and hateful is actively destructive, and I know that I was actively destructive in many ways when I went through my angry phase. So that's what I shoot for is kind of calm civil dialogue and try to reason people out of their bad beliefs.
Yeah, I try to do the same as well.
Yeah.
One thing I tried with my buddy Mikey's girlfriend, and didn't matter how nice I was about it, she just doubled down every single time.
Yep, that happens.
Some you just can't get through, right?
Right.
I think she felt so bad because after the conversations that we had, the next week she went to get rebaptized.
Really?
And she asked me if I wanted to go. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
That's funny. What religion was she? Do you know?
She's more of a non-denominational, but she wanted to have her sins washed away, kind of thing, right?
Okay, is that how it works? I didn't know you could get rebaptized. I thought it was a one-time deal.
I don't know, but maybe she had never been, because I just thought I heard her say, "I'm going to get rebaptized," because maybe she felt she needed it again or something.
That's
I don't
funny.
even know.
Guys, it's like a vaccine, you know, you need to kind of get it updated every now and then to make sure you're still immunized. You still have immunization into sin.
Yeah, there you go.
It's funny you say that, because I said when she mentioned that she had been baptized, I said, you realize it's not like a tetanus shot, right?
That's funny.
You don't have to re-up.
Inject holy water into your arm.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, that's
exactly.
The funny thing is, I actually was at the doctor's office the other day and I got like a shot in both arms. So there you go. Woohoo, vaccines.
It sounds very painful. I know that it's been a long time since I am caught up on all of them, but I haven't had like a flu shot or anything anytime recently. So it sounds really painful.
Well, my mom was an anti-vaxxer, so I'm still catching up on my immunizations.
That's rough. Oh my God. Interestingly enough, my mom.
Vaccinated kids.
Yes, get vaccinated. Holy shit. Yeah. When I was younger, my mom was kind of borderline like that. Like, she wasn't anti-vax. We all got vaccinated, but I had a homeopathic doctor, for example. And yes. Check this out. This is an interesting story. When I was little, I guess I had some kind of a lung thing, like pneumonia or something like that. And she calls the homeopathic doctor to try to figure out what's going on, you know? And the doctor, quote unquote, doctor says, put the phone up to his mouth so I can hear his breathing, as though he's going to be able to tell much from that, whatever. So she puts the phone up to my mouth. And of course, I was like 1 or 2 years old. And he says, okay, go ahead and take him to the hospital. I could have died if that guy hadn't been more, you know, as honest as he is. Because there are people out there that will just give him like Matarine or give him sugar pills.
Put some oil, some essential oils on his chest.
Yeah, some
lavender.
lavender.
On his forehead, open up his third eye, and then hit him with some crystals.
So I did luck out, but my mom, she did do a lot of that stuff. She would give me different homeopathic medicines, quote unquote, all the time. But I'm still standing miraculously. Thank God I'm still here, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm sorry. Thank who?
Yeah. Thank the sweet baby Jesus. That's
I
it.
think that's the one I was going to beat up, right? I could take it.
Yes.
That's a little reference from our
pictures, or it
back.
didn't happen, Neil.
Yeah. That's it. I'm going to go buy a baby Jesus doll now and take pictures of me.
There you go.
That's
Put them on the internet. I'll be famous. Yeah.
Right.
The guy that beat up baby Jesus. Look at him. He looks like a biker pirate.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's pro-choice, isn't he? He just hates babies.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah. No, I love babies, especially with the right barbecue sauce.
Yeah. True atheist.
That's right. Well, the closest I come really is baby back ribs, but they're not actually for babies, people. It's okay.
Right.
So you guys, I first of all, I want to thank both of you for jumping in here with me today. It's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the hearing your stories and having a little chat and goofing around that we've done. I also carried these on into an after party. Well, it's a new link. If you guys are up for it, I invite a few friends in and
sure.
we just continue with the discussion. I generally go for however long it goes for. They're all over the place. They can be anywhere from 45 minutes to 3 hours, but you're not obligated to stay for the whole time at all. But I think a lot of people would really like to get a chance to say hello. So
okay.
If you guys are up for it,
yeah.
I'll take a bit of a break because I got to take a leak again and have another quick smoke. And I'm sure Owen, you probably want one too.
Yeah, just send me the new link. I'll be there. Just 5 minutes or so, you think? 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. And all you guys that are watching, first of all, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. Of course, I'm assuming you guys enjoyed it. Anyways, there will be an after party, so I'll post a link in the usual groups that I do on Twitter. So if you'd like to jump in, remember, guys, it's going to be first come, first serve. So those of you that aren't in the groups that I normally post the links in, let me know if you'd like to jump in, and I'll send you your own link, and you can jump in and say hello to Excultbaby and Telltale. All right, everybody, as I usually say at the end of these things, first of all, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thank you two for jumping in here with me today. And as I always say, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens always used to say, remember, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.